Hi friends, this is Dr. Abdequaem. Let us discuss today one more remedy in relation to skin complaints. I hope that you must have seen the other videos in relation to skin. I have taken a lot of polycrest remedy for skin complaints like natramur, like sepia, like kalikab, like silicea. In that series, let me tell you something about fluoric acid, which I have found very useful in very typical skin complaints related to fluoric acid. The first is in fluoric acid, the cicatrices are painful and sore. Very important symptom of fluoric acid. Just compare that symptom with causticum. And in the typical symptom of cicatrices of fluoric acid, the cicatrices have become red edges on the sides. Or you can say the red edges are important symptom of cicatrices. Cicatrices there, the edges become red. That's a very important symptom of fluoric acid. Cicatrices red on the edges, around the edges it is reddish. In the same way, when there is eruptions or blotches, they are red and elevated. So whenever the eruptions, the blotches are red elevated, think about fluoric acid and think about a very interesting remedy in comparison to fluoric acid, and that is rust toxicodendron. Again, very important. The itching of fluoric acid is also very important. The itching is better by cold. The cold ameliorates the itching. Now, this is again a very important symptom of fluoric acid, because this symptom, is such an important symptom of fluoric acid, which has led me to prescribe fluoric acid and enter the remedy through this symptom. Itching, cold ameliorates. And especially if you see the itching of fluoric acid, the itching is there basically on the orifices. Itching in the orifices. Now, whenever you have seen that itching are there in the orifices, there are a lot of remedies. But, my dear friends, fluoric acid is also there. Other remedies you should remember with the itching in the orifices, think about causticum, think about sulfur, and think about ambragracia. And see how causticum is there. I told you cicatrices were painful and sore, causticum. Again, itching orifices, itching of the orifices, think about fluoric acid, think about causticum, and of course, sulfur is definitely there. As you go further, there are some symptoms in relation to warts of fluoric acid, and they are also very important. Warts are dry. Whenever you get cases of warts which are very dry, think about fluoric acid. Now, dry warts, you can think about fluoric acid, and one very important remedy. Normally, we think about that remedy and not fluoric acid, that is staphylococcus. If you have read the Mathematics of staphylococcus, it is written the warts are dry. One more symptom of fluoric acid warts is the warts are flat. Whenever a flat wart comes, we normally think about causticum, we normally think about thuja. Of course, they are there, but fluoric acid is also there. So think about fluoric acid, think about causticum, think about thuja, and one more remedy you should think about, that is antim crude. One more very important symptom of wart, that why I am specifying wart, because people always come that homeopathy is very good for warts, homeopathy mein warts theek ho jate. So we have to be very cautious about taking symptoms of wart. Don't always think about the so-called polycrest. Of course, they have the symptom, but there are some remedies like fluoric acid which has very typical symptoms of wart. In that, you must think horny warts. Now, whenever horny warts come to our mind, of course, you have to remember causticum and calcareous carb is there, but nitric acid and sepia is also there, but fluoric acid is also there. So there are a lot of remedies for horny warts. You have causticum, you have calcareous carb, you have antim crude, you have nitric acid, you have sepia, but you have fluoric acid also. And one more symptom that crosses my mind for fluoric acid wart is that fluoric acid warts are painful. Of course, fluoric warts painful. You have to compare these symptoms with causticum, calcarea, thuja, nitric acid. But my dear friends, fluoric acid is also there. These are very few symptoms which I have come across when I'm in reading fluoric acid, and whenever basically I'm treating case of warts or treating case of fluoric acid skin. These symptoms I have found very useful in many complaints of fluoric acid. Of course, there are other symptoms of fluoric acid you can think about, like if you see fluoric acid cicatrices, nodules are there. So whenever cicatrices, nodules are there, of course cicatrices I told you about the reddish elevation around the edges, but cicatrices, nodule, that is fluoric acid. And one more very important remedy, and that is silicea. In fluoric acid, one symptom that crosses my mind is that a very important remedy for psoriasis also, eruptions, psoriasis. Now, in psoriasis, as I have always told you, that it is basically related to mind. So think about that mind symptom which I have told you in my previous YouTube or you can see that, but it's a very important remedy for eruptions like psoriasis. One symptom that you have to think about fluoric acid is hard callocytis. Like callocytis becomes very hard, and of course with hard callocytis you have skin hard callocytis, like you have lot of remedies. Like you have to think about fluoric acid, but do think about graphitis, think about sepia, cilicia, dulcamara. These remedies are there, but as I always say, fluoric acid is also there. So these are very important symptoms. These are very interesting symptoms of fluoric acid skin which I have seen in my practice. So my dear friends, if you like this video, do share and subscribe. Thank you.